this is Revolution's Global Editors at the end of the 2018 Baselworld Fair, and we're just going to talk about our favourite pieces from the fair. Ken, what was your favourite piece?
I'm going to disappoint everyone and tell them something that's not very expensive and not complicated and not exclusive. But what blew me away is almost a no-brainer, which is the Tudor GMT. Now, a lot of people criticized it because it seemed like so obvious a choice. Tudor having the entire Rolex archive to access, but the execution and the pricing are so inarguably perfect that anyone who aspires to a GMT Master 2 who can't afford it can now find a substitute for it for which there's no shame and no excuses are needed. Now, I know that's not the obvious thing. It's not a triple axis tourbillon. It's not a minute repeater. You don't have to sell your firstborn to get it. But I thought that piece was just a killer.
Or a kidney. Could be a kidney.
Kidney too. Well, not my kidney. You don't want my kidneys.
Too worked out?
Yeah. No, the stones come free.
But the whole fair, despite being 600 brands down, or half the brands down, still seems to be quite busy. What do you think, Sophie?
No, I agree. When we came to Basel, everyone was talking about all the brands that had left. So we were like, how's it going to be? But then all these new brands came in, which I thought was really exciting to see all these boutique brands that popped up. There were some really interesting watches out there that we'd never seen before. So I thought it was great.
And it should be said that the brands that were there, everyone knocked it out of the ballpark.
True.
I didn't go to one presentation that had dud watches. Every single brand really rose to the occasion.
No, you're right.
And there seems to be a real emphasis on value watches as well this year.
Yeah, I would say that's certainly true. I think everybody knows that there's an emphasis on getting your money's worth out of the watches. So there were some entry price point watches that were very good value, but some higher end watches that were very good value too.
Who stood out in the sort of the entry
Well,
level?
for me, I think Hamilton really stood out because they had a $450 mechanical hand wind, which was great. And then I thought that Jacob stood out on the high end because they make these amazing pieces, but they're still worth the money. It was fantastic for me.
And Andy, you photographed everything at the fair, just about.
I think so, yeah.
What were your favourite pieces?
Well, one of the bigger challenges I had when I was photographing the watches was Jacob's spider.
Were you scared of spiders?
No, I'm not scared of spiders. It's just that the curve of the astronomia is quite challenging.
Everywhere.
Everything. But I thought that was quite amazing, and I was actually the brand person actually had to prove to me that it was not a real spider. So she showed me a little video with the titanium bits and is it duck hair?
Duck feathers.
Duck feathers or something, and I thought that was amazing. Yeah, I would like to see more, and I was wondering what kind of insect would be the next one. But, yeah.
Titan, what about you?
Me? Well, honestly, I feel a bit weird about the Rainbow Daytona, but when I saw it the first sight, I feel like, wow, this is so flashy and so tacky. But when you put it on your wrist, it's amazingly good.
And that's one watch that everybody wants this year.
Yeah, but that's the weird part, because when you look at the pictures or just look at the watches, it's so tacky. But when you put it on the wrist, it's totally different. Yeah, and especially it's made, I think mainly it's made for men, right? And all my collector friends, they are just sending me the message like, can you show me the photo on your wrist, the real photo? I think, why? I say that is amazing piece, so that's why I think it's really weird. Yeah, but I love it.
No, actually, can I offer something on that? One of the experiences I've ever had was going to AP at SIHH. It was a long time ago. It taught me a very important lesson, which was don't be too judgmental. People
Tracey, don't be too judgmental.
People create a watch, and there is an emotion that goes into it. There's a reason that goes into it. You might not have experienced it before, but someone else has. So I walked into the AP booth, and they gave me a diamond encrusted Royal Offshore. I thought to myself as it was being brought to me, that's the most tacky thing ever. But I put it on and I was smiling for 10 minutes. So therefore,
you agree with me?
I understand what you went through.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of accepting that there are different ways to enjoy what we love.
Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe we are getting old.
Possibly.
And on the theme side, we've seen for years now sort of like automotive theme watches. I haven't really noticed that many at this fair, but I know you guys, Carlos and Israel, you're really into cars. So what have you noticed?
Well, about automotive watches, I can think of one that really stood out for me. But I'd rather go into a part of the world that has nothing to do with watches, which is the sea. There's like this maritime theme all over the place. Blancpain surprised me, not because they were batting the ball out of the park, but the 55 on the Batiscaf with the annual calendar was really nice. And then you go across the street to go away and see the Breguet Marine, the new collection.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And then you go a bit further down the road and you see how Breitling is trying, to do something with all their series, the air, the sea, to work something and add value to the pieces, to add value to the collection. So all in all, maybe our favorite thing wasn't that present as we would like to, but still we like to think that overall we've seen this kind of comeuppance of the reality of the watch industry, and to see that very specific themes, ones that started it all, the Seamasters or the watch that is worth mentioning here, that the themes that first started it all maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they're coming up to a level in which we cease to be judgmental, as I mentioned, because of the size or because of the old fashioned cues and the delicate finishing. No, we are trying to understand watchmaking in a new way, overhauling what we used to know, and remembering that everything can be done better each and every time. Yeah.
Suzanne, what about you? You're loving all the independents, so...
Well, okay, I am loving it. I've spent a lot of time there, I'm not going to lie, because a lot of them are my friends, but I'm going to say this year, what completely blew me away, as with previous years, to be honest, is without a doubt, Bulgari. You know, the entire product offering this year, entirely on point in terms of positioning, in terms of pricing, in terms of technical achievement, in terms of mechanical excellence. The minute repeater in carbon fiber, 8% louder than in titanium. Oh, you know, the automatic tourbillon, which also happens to be extra thin, amazing accomplishment. The sandblasted watches with rose gold, we compared it to titanium, excellent, and the rhodium plated one, which absolutely stunning. I gotta say, Bulgari knocked it out of the park. I love what you've done, Bulgari. Bien joué.
I think every editor agrees with you. Actually, speaking to people individually, everybody has loved.
They're on our front cover.
The
Tourbillon Ultra Thin Automatic blew my mind completely.
Absolutely.
That's crazy, because they went farther than everyone before on a very specific skill of watchmaking that was a little forgotten because of the tendency of the huge and thick and big watches. And then they are in a way they are going back to the roots of the highest level of watchmaking, which is making everything as fine, as precise, and as perfect as possible.
And they make it look easy. I mean, they make it look easy.
Isn't it interesting that the greatest complications came from the jewelry houses?
Exactly.
The Graf one-off pieces with the sphere,
The cityscape,
was phenomenal. But we're all forgetting Harry Winston, because Harry Winston put Opus to rest.
Of course.
Now the watches are fine, but when I saw the Ultimate Signature, even though it's not a watch, although I'm sure the River could make a strap for it, when I saw that thing operate, which they did in conjunction with their sisters over at Jacques Dro, I said, forget every other complication I've seen for the last 10 years. A travel clock or a clock that writes your signature, you can keep your minute repeaters. And that's from a jewelry house. So God bless
Mechanical
them.
magic.
All of them. They really, really did show. I think that this whole problem of are you a jewelry watch or are you a haute horlogerie watch, that's going to become less and less important as the jewelry brands, because don't forget, we've had much older brands that have always, like Tiffany, for example, had wristwatches 100 years ago. Hermes had wristwatches 100 years ago. But the ones that came later to the game have all now reached critical mass. And when I saw that ultimate distinction,
That's great.
Yeah. And what Ken Kessler was saying, like you talk about jewelry, you guys have been talking about value. How about that Zenith Defy 21 chronograph, full set diamond, 67 grand, ladies, 67 grand for full set watch, baller watch, daddy watch. Oh. Come on.
And all the Defy lineup, I mean, last year when we saw the first Primero 21 was really nice, and we kind of were like waiting and seeing if the new Tonoke's will catch on.
A little more of the same.
Yeah, because I used to have a Primero Defy from the 70s. I said, okay, it's really nice, it's very 70 looking, but what are they going to do with the new shape? And now you see the time only watch and the new chronographs, and you see, of course, the diminutive column. I mean, they managed to downsize the gyroscope into the Defy case, which is no small feat at all, and
reduce the volume, reduce the number of components.
Yeah, you actually can wear it.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually can wear it. So it's pretty amazing. And again, on the value side, I think, because it's a watch that's not that expensive, and it's quite good looking.
And something very, very important, because Zenith was a little looking for an icon, and I think that the new Defy collection could be their first big icon for the future.
The Kickstarter for it.
Well, they had a mechanical icon in terms of the El Primero, but
Yeah,
I think
of
you're
course.
right in terms of the design icon, in terms of the collection.
Yeah,
they
And speaking
needed
of which,
Yeah, they got the movement. They
rolling
didn't have
out the
the name.
Defy Lab, rolling out the Defy Lab, which right now our boss has on his wrist.
Sorry.
Bring it on.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool piece.
Throw it over, Bruce. Throw it over.
And on the other side of the highly technical, Sophie, I know you were really glad to see Métier d'Art.
Yeah, quite a lot. I was surprised because we went into SIHH. It was one of our categories on the Swiss team. And there was very little apart from Vacheron. There wasn't really that much in the Métier d'Art. Well, there was Van Cleef as well, obviously, that you'd expect. So we had the category again, and so we were looking out for them, and they were just everywhere, from Jacques Dro with their pli casual, which was beautiful.
Oh, Chopin with the paper cuttings.
Yes, yeah, and there was another one, Claude Melon. Who I mean, you just go on Graph, had this, the cityscapes. Who else was there? I have a whole list in here somewhere.
Chanel, where they did the 12 different.
Blancpain.
Yes.
The Chanel.
Oh yeah, Blancpain, and then Patek. We had the whole downstairs.
Yeah, and Blancpain had a whole range of erotic mini repeaters. Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but talk about really sexy bag.
I didn't see those. They didn't show them to me.
They were there.
And then
Like,
off-site
watch
there
porn.
was Dolce & Gabbana, who had that mosaic.
Amazing.
You know, that mirrors the cathedral in Palermo, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That was really something. So I'm glad. I'm a big fan, so I was happy. How about you? What was your favourite?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
see,
I have
She's just asking all about that. She's not saying anything.
Yeah,
I have to
tell us all.
I have to say, I'm not usually overly impressed by the big boys, but this year Rolex, Tudor, Patek, and even Breitling just were brilliant. I thought the whole collection. So. And the 58 from Tudor, that's the one that I'm putting my nose down for right now.
And one of the trends that hasn't been mentioned is, 1, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is, I suppose it might be a trend, but when you start getting up to 15 and 20, I was staggered at the number of green dials, and the best thing I heard was someone saying green is the new blue, which just nailed it.
Blue is
And
still strong.
Blue is still strong, but the amount of green.
Yeah.
And
It's not really my thing, blue. It's not really my color. I can't put my finger on it. I just never really liked blue.
But there were some good reds. The Hublot red ceramic, the Chapek rhubarb reds. There were some good reds there.
There was Probably Swiss had a red one too.
Yeah.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
Loving it.
But honestly, to see that many brands, because we know they don't collaborate, and I'm certain that Oris didn't talk to Anonimo, and yet every other brand seemed to have something in a beautiful green. And I have to say, green is not the most obvious color anyone would ever choose for a
Glass
watch
Hutte
dial.
had beautiful
Well,
green.
Glass Hutte was one of the
Probably
first.
the best.
That one.
Glass Hutte years ago in Moser
Spectacular.
were among the first, and then obviously Rolex with the sub. But to find so many come on board, and it's not an obvious thing to copy the way everyone copied Big Date right after Lange. Every brand had to have a Big Date. Saying that you have to have a green dial is not an obvious direction for people. But the funny thing is, it crossed all price ranges from Moser down to brands under 1,000 francs. And there were diving watches, there were enamel watches, there were dress watches, ultra thins, chronographs, So green, I don't think it's going to be just a flash in the pan, because you don't go and drop $3,000 on a watch and not wear it the following year because the colors change.
Exactly. But okay, taking our cue from that, what does everyone think the next year's trend is going to be? Red dials, calling it now.
Interesting.
Checkerboard.
Any guesses? Come on, let's put money on the table.
Well, burgundy is due for a hit. But you
Oh,
get
the burgundy.
Burgundy is due for a hit.
That's almost your call.
Yeah, because red is due. Red is two in your face, whereas the burgundy, like on the two.
Is it in your face, Brady?
That's copper, my dear.
And Sumit, you've been videoing all that. The delivery, getting the message out there so quickly. So how's that
The hero
changed?
behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Ladies
The heroes
that's
behind
right.
the scene are really behind the scenes.
You don't see it though. Ken, say something, man.
How different has that been, getting the message out immediately? I know Stephen has been videoing all that.
It's been good. I mean, because you get the freshness of the message delivered. It gets across to everybody on the immediacy, and as people receive them, we receive feedback, and we're actually able to interact with the crowd as we're on the ground. That's been good for us on the YouTube front, on the Instagram live side as well, because people are asking us questions, and we try to answer them as best as we can, because we want to make sure that you almost feel like you're on the floor with us. Yeah.
That's the message, people. Keep sending those comments in, keep sending those messages in. We'll get to them. We'll get to them all.
Before we sign off, what every one of our readers wants to know, and go around starting over with you, is what's everyone wearing? Yeah. And I don't mean your undershorts. What you wearing to the show?
We are just looking at our watches. Yeah. We are the. We are the
Explorer 2, GMT Batman,
Yeah.
GMT Master System.
I'm next. So I'm wearing a small American brand called Vortic with a movement and dial and hands from 1920.
Wow. I'm wearing a vintage Rolex Cellini from 1981. Very cute square case. Very elegant and pretty comfortable. Nice.
Well, I'm wearing my trusty Speedmaster Mark II from 1971 with the axis one movement and racing dial.
Bravo.
I have my Milgauss with green sapphire and blue dial, and it was my treat to myself after Basel last year.
Ken, talk it to us.
1958 Gallet triple calendar chronograph. You were with a Valjoux 72C movement in 14 karat yellow gold.
That's it. That's all. Go home. Let's go home now.
Yeah, that's unnecessary violence.
Personal foul, man.
Okay,
That's right,
okay,
yes,
so I have a
okay.
vintage Amiga from the year I was born, and I'm not telling you what that year is.
1989.
I knew it. Right, double wristing, yellow gold Rolex Daytona, in with the Zenith movement, by the way. Baby. And the Blancpain 50 Phantom Spotted Scarf Revolution Edition.
Nice.